Hello, welcome all, and all are welcome. My name is Marianne, and today I will be going through my reading journal. I am going to do the summary for the month of April. I'm going to show you all of May, and we're going to set up June in my reading journal today. So if that sounds good to you, please stick around. We are jumping right into things. I am first of all going to the month of April, and I'm going to be making 3 pie charts based on what I read that month. This is my first year making pie charts at the ends of my months, and I've been really enjoying it. I have like a whole little list of different kinds of pie charts I can make depending on what information I want to include. So as you can tell, the theme color that I went with for April was like a muted blue, and I used blues all through my calendar to track how long it took me to read certain books. So I wanted to make sure that I used blues in my pie charts as well. So I am just starting off with making the first pie chart here, and this is a chart indicating whether or not the author of the book that I read was new to me, or whether I had read this author before. Most of the authors of the books were new to me. About 2/3 of them were new to me, and then about maybe a little over 1/3 were not new to me. And so I'm just indicating that by coloring them in with 2 different Tombow Dual Brush Pens. I will be using almost entirely Tombow Dual Brush Pens for coloring things in. In this video, there will be like maybe 1 or 2 different things, but other than that, it's going to be my Tombow Dual Brush Pens. And if you're curious about a certain color, please let me know. I can tell you the color code for them as well. So I'm using my Sharpie felt tip black pen in fine to write new to me and not new on my respective values. And then we're going on to my second pie chart. This is a pie chart for indicating whether or not the book I read was in a series. I think this is actually really interesting information because it's not something maybe you really think about, but about maybe 3/4 of the books that I read in April were books that were in a series. I do not always finish the series that I start for one reason or another. I might decide that the book isn't for me, I don't prefer the author, or maybe the content wasn't really what I wanted. But most of the books that I read are either the first book in a series, or if I decide that I like the series, of course I will continue reading it. So I'm using my Sharpie pen again to indicate the individual values there, and then this is my third pie chart. This is the only one that is not just 2 individual values. And this is the year in which the book was published. Another thing that I don't really think of actively whenever I am reading my books, but then whenever it comes time to make the pie charts, I find it really interesting to go through and go back and look at all of the books that I've read and see what years they were published in. So for April, I do have a section for 2025, and this is the first time in this year's reading journal that I have a 2025 book. But I guess that really makes sense because the first 3 months the books were still being published. There were probably only a couple books compared to the amount there are, now. So I did read 1 book published in 2025 in April, and I actually have 5 different years that I read books from. 2018, 2022, and then all the way through 2025. So I am using my Tombow Dual Brush Pens to mark those values, and then after that, I will be done with my pie charts. I really haven't been enjoying doing a monthly summary in the back of, or at the end of each month. It's not information that is helpful to anyone in any way. It's more just because I like logging information, and I enjoy coloring pie charts, and so I just thought I'd give myself an extra little project here. It's not a hard thing to do, but it's something fun to do at the end of each month. So after I'm finished labeling all those values, I'm grabbing my Tombow Dual Brush Pen. This is in the N15, this is just the black color, and I'm taking the blunt side tip, and I'm making a space for DNFs and a space for 10-star reads. Afterward, I will also go underneath that with a different color Tombow and write most anticipated read. This is not something that I put in every journal summary, but I thought that it would be good to indicate it for this month because in April, one of my most anticipated reads of the entire year came out. And so I wanted to mark down that that happened on the cover page for April. So I used my HP Sprocket 200 to print my book covers, and I printed a little half-size cover here for India Holton's The Geographer's Map to Romance. That is the second book in the Love Academic series. The first book in the series is my #1 book for the year so far. So then I'm just using my pen to write down the title and author of the book, and I'm going back over to the left side page into my empty box, and I write favorite book of April. The other half of my little printer page I made was Emily Wilde's Map of the Everlands, which is by Heather Fawcett. This is the book that I gave 10 out of 10 stars for the month of April. I absolutely loved it. So I'm just indicating here that that was my favorite book of the month. After I'm done with all of this, my summary page is pretty much finished, and I can go ahead and flip over to read through all of the books that I read. So the first book that I read was a DNF. It was The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. I just did not get into it. The second book, Orcs and Pastries by Sophie Honey, was a 2 out of 10 stars. So we did not start the month off well. But then we jump right into Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. This is book 2 in the Emily Wilde series, and I really, really enjoy it. It was such a good book to be able to read, and I gave it 10 out of 10 stars. Really loved this book. The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton was my most anticipated read of the month. This is the spread I made for it, and I gave it 9 out of 10 stars. I did not end up loving it as much as the first book, which is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, but I did really enjoy this book, and I had a good time making a spread for it as well. Flipping over to the next page, we have 2 individual sized spreads, so one on each page. One is Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, which is book 2 in the Murderbot Diaries. This is a short book, only 149 pages, and I gave it 7 out of 10 stars. This is a sci-fi, very easy reading, and I really enjoyed this series. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater is the first book in the Regency Fairy Tale series. I gave this one a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay. It was pretty good. It was cute, but nothing groundbreaking about it. We're flipping the page again, and we go to Autopsy of a Fairy Tale by Nicole Scarano and Forensics of a Fable. Both of these books are the first 2 books in the Autopsy of a Fairy Tale series. The first one I gave 8 stars. The second one I gave 9 stars. I've really been enjoying this series. Now we're going to go ahead and jump over to setting up my May pages. For the month of May, I was taking part in the Ghosty Goober Readathon hosted by Jashi Corin. I have never done a readathon before, but I have been doing Jashi Corin's year-long reading challenge, where she gives you prompts to fill, and you fill it by reading certain kinds of books. I've really been enjoying that, and I thought that it would be a very good time to try and read a bunch of books in May that also suited the prompts that she gave us for the readathon. She also provided a lot of printables on Discord, so I sized them down and printed them out so that I could put them in my journal. And then I based my color scheme on the printable colors. So there's this like mossy green color, a beautiful brown toned orange, and then like a very pale muted yellow. I went with those colors for my theme for the month, and it was fun because this is also the first time I've ever had more than one color for my reading journal theme. I'm now just using my Sakura Pigma Micron to number in the boxes from the calendar that I just made. The Sakura Pigma Micron in Black 01 is a very good pen that I use whenever I want my writing to just be slightly finer. I'm then going ahead and going in with my black Tombow to make a section for my reading list. I always have a section for my reading list next to my calendar, and then I can swatch the marker in front of the book I read, list the book, and then use the marker to color in how many days it took me to read it on the calendar. I also always include a little box. A box at the bottom or at the top that just, it ends up being useful. I use it for a different thing each month, but I always appreciate having a box on my spread. This sticker says reading list. This is by Isabova. She has a store on Etsy that makes stickers, very good quality stickers. I really like them and definitely recommend her store. And then I'm just taking out some washi tape. It's yellow washi tape with kind of dark red dots on it. I'm not actually sure where I got this one. I've had it for so many years, but I just am using it to kind of make border along the top and bottom of the empty box as a bit of a decoration. I want to make sure that I use all of the colors of the theme pretty balanced throughout my cover page and following pages. So to do that, I make sure that I include a lot of elements and a lot of ephemera. I have this tiny, tiny little scrap of orange and green paper that I've been keeping for actual years. Like for years I've had this, and I felt vindicated because I finally had a reason to use it. But I put that down underneath the letter M, and then I have a little yellow flower with green leaves that fit the color scheme really well that I put on top of it to layer it. This is one of the printable items. So this is the plant study plan, which is just all of the different prompts that you can use to pick your book and then how many points they're worth. This is something that I wanted right at the front so that I could reference it very frequently, and I did. I'm using double-sided tape roller to put this in place. I know some people do not prefer to use double-sided tape roller because they find it to be wasteful money-wise whenever they have to replace it. For me personally, I don't really worry about it too much because the money difference is small, and also I have a refillable one, so I just need to buy the refills. And also use value, it makes a big difference to me. It makes things so much faster and easier to do. So I use my double-sided tape roller pretty much all the time whenever I make a spread. I just put down some washi tape there that fit the color scheme nicely, and I have this sticker from Sticky. I get their Sticky Club subscription box. I get the vintage pack every month, and I just get the best stuff in there. Another random little piece of paper that I have had forever, I get to use here, and then I have this little sticker that looks like a strip of washi tape. This row of books stickers is by LA Florals on Etsy, and then I'm topping it all with another one of those sticky stickers, adding one up by the May title as well. I'm pretty happy with the way things are looking here, so I'm deciding that I need to go and work on my second page. Joshi Korn included a lot of different printables in her Discord, and it was really helpful for us to be able to print them off and reference them throughout using them. I was really glad she did that. So this is just a few of them that I thought would be most relevant to me, and I printed them off and I taped them all down and cut them out. Now I'm going in with my pen, the Sharpie pen, and writing points, rules, and dates so that I can top them with this clear orange sticker. These stickers are really great, but you can't write on them because they're too slippery, so I just write underneath them, and they basically work as a highlighter. They're doing great. On the opposite page, I'm writing host TBRs because you got extra points if you read a book from the host TBRs, and so it's a list of them and then their covers. I have this large sticker that looks like a flower from my Grabie subscription box. I think it's pronounced Grabie or maybe Grabie. And then two smaller ones from the same place over on the other side just to get it a little bit more decoration. The final piece I'm going with is a corner sticker made by Isabova Store, the Isabova on Etsy, and then this is how this page ended up looking. We're flipping over now to work on my third and final setup page for May. I had a lot of setup pages for May because I figured I would need them for the Readathon. This is a little section where I can make a large rectangle at the top for the cover of the book, and then I will make a smaller rectangle underneath it, and I can list the prompt that it completes and the title of the book. So I'm just going through with some sped up footage here and making those boxes This ended up being fun. I made 10 sets of boxes in total because I had counted 10 prompts that I thought that I could probably complete pretty easily. And I filled in all of the boxes but one by the end of the month. So it worked out pretty well. I'm now going in and just labeling prompt and book in each of the smaller boxes so that I can fill those in the future. And then now I have a little paper here. This is another one. I just keep things for years and years until I have a reason to use them. But this is a little page that's numbered 1 through 8, and it says books I want to read at the top. And then it has a space for the title and the author of each book. This is not the sort of thing I would normally use because I have a reading journal. So if I want something like this, I'd probably want it bigger, and I would just make it myself. But having a small one off to the side here is a good opportunity for me to write down some books that I think will work well to meet the prompts. I'm now going in with my favorite washi tape. This is from the Washi Tape Store, and it's just a yellow washi tape with little mice and strawberries on it. I think it is so cute, and I love it so much. I'm topping it with a couple of these Pantone color swatch stickers that I got, I think, off of Wish like 5 years ago. Like, this is very old stickers. I'm really pulling out the old stuff to make this spread, but I actually am really happy with how these all turned out. I'm putting down a clear frame sticker and then topping it with a sticker from Sticky. And then I'm pulling out these little memo pad post-it notes. These are so pretty. They have this beautiful pattern on them, and I thought that this would work really well to put on the top and bottom of my list, kind of as like a header. So I'm using my double-sided tape because it's only sticky at one far end of the thing, and I want it to stay down flat. So I'm putting those down on the top and bottom, but there's still so much empty space. And as a maximalist in general, and someone who doesn't like white space in her journal specifically, I really like making sure that I have something to fill the white space, because having a bunch of white space is not my preference. So I have found these cute little stickers. They're orange and yellow with green stems, and I thought that they worked well for the color scheme, so I'm just putting them down all here along the bottom, almost like they're growing out of the washi tape. I also have some very small pale yellow color swatch stickers that you almost can't see on screen, but they're very small, and I thought that they would fill in the space nicely between my book list and my Pantone stickers. So I'm putting those in now. But I also have some other color swatch stickers and like a burnt orange color that worked really well for the color scheme. So after I put down this final yellow sticker, I'm going in with my round orange stickers, and I'm placing a couple of them. So after placing 3 of these dots, I then go in with some stickers I got from Grabie. This is the Alphonse Mucha, I don't know, Alphonse Mucha stickers, but they're just cut into little green strips. So I thought this worked really well to fill in this skinny little space right here, and I just place them down here, and then that's what the spread ends up looking like. So now we're going back to the first spread that I made for May, because I decided what I wanted to use that box for. I'm grabbing a label sticker from Paper Like a Shop and using my Sharpie pen to write "track your points," because I'm going to use a tally mark for each point I get, and I'm going to keep track of how many points I get in total by the end of the month in this box. I also realized, flipping back, that I hadn't colored in or labeled the days of the week on my calendar. So I'm just going in with my Tombow pen and with that kind of green toned yellow, and I'm coloring in the boxes, and then I'm just labeling them Monday through Sunday. I always do a Monday start calendar. I'm also making boxes to work as bullet points for my reading list so that I can color in the swatch of the color that I read. Placing down a final little sticker there for extra decoration, and that's how that ended up looking. We'll do a quick little flip through here so you can see how all of my May opening spreads look like. I think that they turned out really nicely, and I'm happy with the balance of colors that we got throughout the spread. But I think that it was super fun to work with a color scheme that wasn't just one color, but still had a certain cohesiveness to it. Now we're going to go to our May in Review spread. For my May in Review spread, I wanted to keep the color scheme the same as it's been through the month for my setup spreads. And so I'm just going in with that washi tape I really like again. And then on top of that, I have this dark green washi tape from thecreepingmoon on Etsy. So we're just putting those in and trimming them. And then I am going in with my Paño La Concha on Etsy letter stickers. These are stickers in a dark green and a light green, but the dark green ended up being a little bit harder to see on the washi tape. You can still see them, especially in real life. You can tell what it says, but it is just a little bit hard to see on the washi tape, which I think is a shame. So we're putting down May in Review for my header here, and then we are going in with my black Tombow to make a space for a book spread, a space for DNFs, and one for 10-star reads. I then go in with my Tombow Black Fudenosuke hard tip to label them books read, DNFs, and 10 stars. I also use that same Fudenosuke to write the best read of May and can't wait to read in June. These are two things that I wanted to make sure that I indicated on this page because I had a specific book in mind for reading to meet my Jashi Koren year-long reading challenge that would work well for the prompt in June. So that's why I included this. I don't always include something like can't wait to read in June, but I wanted to include that this time. Now I'm going in to work on my pie charts, and I'm going to make 5 pie charts this time. I read more books than usual in the month of May because of the Readathon. I had a lot of information to make pie charts out of, and I thought it would be fun to do a few extra. This first pie chart I'm starting with is going to be the genre of the book that I read. And I messed up on making this one actually. So I usually just do a couple of sections at a time and then label them and then do a few more sections. But even doing that, I just have a poor memory and that's why I do that. But even in doing that, I still managed to mess up because 2 of the sections are labeled adventure when one of them should have been mystery. So that's my bad, but it's a small thing. And our journals aren't meant to be perfect. And mine certainly is not perfect. So it's okay. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's just one of those things where I was like, oh, I messed up. And another way that this kind of messed up was that I went in last with my red pen. This is a pen, like a marker pen from my Grabie subscription box. But unfortunately, this pen did not react well to being put next to my Tombow pens, and it bled a lot as soon as it met the other markers. I learned later that the best way to use this pen is to go in first with the Grabie red pen, and then I can go in with Tombows and it won't bleed. So I will end up doing that on the last pie graph, but until then I'm just having to figure out what to do about the bleeding of the pen colors. I don't like the way it looks at all. It does not look good. But anyway, I'm coloring in that last section and labeling it with my Sharpie pen that is for genres. Now we're going into my next pie graph, and this one is author newness to me again. Once again, it's about 1/3 of the books that I read were by an author that I had already known, that were not new to me. And then most of the books that I read were by authors that were new to me. It's interesting how that's repeating here. I'm going in with a brown Tombow to do the larger section, the authors that are new to me section, and I'm not super happy with how this one got so streaky. Water-based markers do tend to just get streaky, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. There are other kinds of like pigments that you can use and stuff, but these water-based markers are just so convenient, and I have them in so many colors that I kind of just put up with it. I don't want to use something like alcohol markers or anything that would bleed, and this is just so convenient to use. I don't have to pull out paints or anything for this. So I just kind of put up with the streakiness. I'm labeling him with my smaller pen, the Sakura Pigma Micron Black and 01. And then underneath the pie graph, I say what the pie graph's about with my Sharpie black felt tip pen and fine. Those are the two pens I will be using consistently throughout this entire video, but especially the Sharpie pen. That one is my favorite pen. It is my go-to, and anytime I need to write something, I will just grab my Sharpie pen. I don't really use any other pens except for my Sakura pens whenever I need to write smaller. Now we're going on to my third pie graph. This one is about whether or not the book is in a series again, and once again, about 2/3 of the books that I read were in a series. I'm still maintaining I did not finish a lot of the series. Some of them were just, I tried the first book and it wasn't for me. And then there were, of course, also books where I was continuing a series. But it's interesting that so many books that I'm interested in are in a series. Once again, I'm using this red marker pen and it is bleeding on me. And this is where I realized that I need to try something else. And maybe if I flip it around and use the red pen first and then the Tombow pens, that it will work out better. I'm using my black pens to mark yes and no, and then labeling it is it in a series with a question mark, and we're going on to my next pie graph. This is the pie graph for the year in which the book was published. We're doing this one again as well, but it's interesting because I only read books from 3 different years for this entire month, which is strange because I read more books this month than I did in any other month so far this year. But all of them were in 2003, 2004, and then I had one in 2005. This is a pie graph that I enjoy doing, though, because I can always count on having some diversity in here. Just like they're never going to be the same size throughout. You know what I mean? They're never going to be the same values every time for every month. So I think that it's really interesting to look at these. I read mostly books from 2024. And then several from 2023. And like I said, only one from 2025. But I'm going in with my Sakura pen and I'm labeling each of the values. Here is where I've learned my lesson, and I go in first with the red pen from Grabie, and I go ahead and color in the first value in my pie graph that I'm going to devote to ratings. This is my first time trying this, but I wanted to see how many books got which ratings, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this pie graph here. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but all the pie graphs that I make, I get from online. I go to a website and I enter the values, and then it tells me what the pie graph looks like, and then I just kind of look at it and copy it onto my page in pencil. Then I go over it with a kneaded eraser so that whenever I top the area with a lighter colored marker, you won't see the pencil through it. So the kneaded eraser is a really important step for me so that I don't have a bunch of pencil marks permanently in my journal. I'm labeling 2 of the values here, and then we're going in with some more colors. Overall, my lowest score, I did have 1 3-star read. I had mostly 7 stars, 2 each of 8 and 9 stars, and 1 10-star read for the month. So I felt like that was a pretty good variety, and I wanted to show it in a pie graph, so that's what we're doing here. I have also just wanted to say that I really appreciate everyone for being here. If you're watching this video right now, I appreciate it a lot. This is only the 3rd video that I've made for YouTube, and I'm very slow in editing the videos, as you can tell by when this video is coming out. Like, it's well into July, and I'm only now releasing the video setting up for June. But basically, I'm having a good time learning as I go, and the editing process, I mean, I'd never edited a video before this, before I started doing YouTube, and also the voiceover and everything. Like, it's a good time learning how to do these things. So I appreciate very much you being here for this. Now I'm going back in with my Sharpie pen because I had forgotten to label my 4th pie chart. So I'm writing year published underneath that and rating underneath the final one. And then after that, I just waited for that marker to dry a little bit so I could mark the last section as 7 stars. So this is all of my pie charts done, but the page is still pretty blank and I've got more information I want to log. So now we're going in with my regular black pen and I'm writing that I wrote 10 books for May. But that's incorrect. I made this spread on the last day of May and then turned around and read another book. So all of this ended up being incorrect, but I read 11 books in May. For my best read of May, I picked Empire of Shadows by Jacqueline Benson, which is the first book in the Raiders of the Arcana series. This is interesting because I only rated it a 9 out of 10 stars, and I did have a 10-star read this month. But I don't know if my logic will make sense, but I rated the book 10 stars, the other book, 10 stars because I felt like it was a really well-written book. It was really evocative, really emotional. But as far as enjoyment goes, and just purely enjoying reading a book, I really enjoyed Empire of Shadows more than the other book. Just a little bit more. So then can't wait to read in June. I'm putting Compendium of Lost Tales, which is book 3, the final book in the Emily Wilde trilogy by Heather Fawcett. I know that it will meet one of the criteria for my June reading challenge, and so I'm making sure to include that as well. I'm putting down this washi tape by Archer and Olive, and then a couple of stickers by Karen Illustrator, who runs an Etsy shop with a lot of amazing stickers. I have so many of them. Then we're going down here and we're going to the Naturalist Guild sticker, these green stickers, and they're layered over top. Another one of those LA Florals Plans rows of book stickers. These ones that I'm putting down right now are by a shop that's changed its name and kind of changed its style a little bit, but so I'm not sure how much information I can give you about it, but I got them on Etsy as well. Here's another LA Floral sticker, and then I'm putting one over here on the left page from Passion Planner. We're just finishing up a little bit with a little yellow Band-Aid looking sticker with some stars and moons on it that I thought was really cute. And then just a couple more pieces of ephemera, including this clear sticker that I'm putting onto sticker paper. This is something I do whenever I want to add a sticker in, but I feel like if it's clear, it will just blend in with everything else. You won't be able to see it very well. So I put it onto regular sticker paper, and then I cut it out and use that to regular sticker paper to adhere it onto my journal. We're finishing up with a final few books, and then I will be going in with my pen to reinforce the lines of the pie chart because it was bothering me that they looked so muddy and messed up. But this is how my May in review spread ended up looking. I think it looked really cute. So now we do a quick flip through. This is what my May cover spread looks like. I ended up with 27 points, which put me in the Ghostly Gardener tier at the end of it all. This page didn't really end up looking any different. It was mostly a reference page rather than something that I would fill out throughout the month. And then for my final spread, this one I ended up reading 9 books that fit into the challenge and 1 book that didn't, so I only put 9 books onto this cover page. And here's the spreads. The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary A. Pearson is the first book in the series. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was a long book. It was 550 pages, but it was pretty good. There were parts of it that I didn't love, and I won't be continuing the series, though. My Brother's Grumpy Best Friend by Abby Grayson, I gave 3 out of 10. Was not the best book ever, but I like to read these like kind of modern rom-com books as a palate cleanser between my more serious books. Kidnapping of a Myth by Nicole Scarano is the 3rd book in the Autopsy of a Fairy Tale series, and I gave it 8 out of 10 stars. And then we flip over to Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. This is a new adult book, and I've never, ever, I don't read new adult, but I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 9 out of 10. I was thinking about giving it 10 stars, but I'm just very particular about what I give 10 stars, but this was a very beautiful book. Really enjoyed it. Criminology of a Character is the 4th book in the Autopsy of a Fairy Tale series by Nicole Scarano. I gave this one 7 out of 10 stars just because it was very grisly. Like, maybe check your trigger warnings on this one. But then I have But He's My Grumpy Neighbor by Anna Conwell, which is the 1st book in the But He's a Carter Brothers series, and I gave this one a 7 out of 10, but I had a more positive experience. This one was another one of those palate cleanser books, just super cheerful. Really enjoyed it. Empire of Shadows by Jacqueline Benson is the 1st book in the Raiders of the Arcana series. I gave it a 9 out of 10, and this was my book of the month. Really, really loved this book. The adventure aspect was beautiful, and the romance was lovely. And I think the spread that I made for it turned out pretty cute, too. The 10-star book that I had for this month was These Immortal Truths by Rochelle Readathon, which is the first book in the Peaches and Honey series. I gave this one 10 out of 10 stars, and then after I made the spread, a couple days later, I came back and made a little flip out because I had more I wanted to talk about this book because it was so emotional. I think I must have cried 2 or 3 times during this book, and it's like only a little over 300 pages long. It was just cram-packed with emotion and experiences. A really beautiful book, and I definitely recommend it. Then I read These Scattered Bones by Nicole Scarano. This one was not in a series. This is just a standalone book. Really, really emotional. 8 out of 10 stars. But again, it was 278 pages, and I think I cried at least 2 or 3 times while reading this. It was a beautiful book. Very emotional. And I definitely recommend it. It was really good. We have to go to the front of my journal now so that we can fill in my book bracket. I'm putting Empire of Shadows as my favorite book for the month. I'm not really super happy with how my book bracket turned out. I'd never made one before, so this was my first attempt at making a book bracket, and I just made the whole thing way too small. It's not like super ugly. It doesn't bother me that much, but I just don't love it as much as I love some of the other spreads that I have in my journal. I'm then flipping over to my graph that I use to mark how many books I read per month, and I'm putting down 10. But again, I did not read 10 books. I read 11, so I'm going in later off camera, and I will white out this, and then I will mark that I read 11 books in the month of May, which is the most amount of books that I have. It's the largest amount of books that I've read in a single month so far, like in a very long time. I was very happy with that. For the month of June, I'm doing a setup here, and I started by trying to use a stamp with a calendar on it. Unfortunately, I think I used a bad stamp pad that didn't have very much ink on it, and so it didn't press very well. So I had to pull out my ruler and my Sakura Pigma Micron pen to reinforce the lines. Unfortunately, I do not like using a ruler, which is kind of crazy because I do bullet journaling and reading journaling, but I'm just not happy with the way that I use a ruler. I think it takes me a long time. It's not very efficient. It's not very effective. And I actually really prefer the look of more natural, organic looking lines anyway. So I, a couple times used a ruler in this spread, and each time I end up cutting the footage so I don't have to watch myself use this ruler poorly. This is a warm yellow Writech Sign brush pen from the vintage pack that I'm using to color in Monday through Friday, and then I'm using that same red pen from Grabie to color in Saturday and Sunday. I mostly want to do a yellow spread for this, but as an accent color, I wanted to add in some darker toned reds. So I'm using stickers right now to put Monday through Sunday onto the calendar, and these are actually stickers that a friend gifted me. She got them along with her medication, so make sure that she took her medication every day, but she uses a different way to track that, so she gave me these stickers, and they are perfect for bullet journaling and reading journaling. I'm now marking all of the days, the numbers of the month, and using a line to mark out the days that are not in the month. So for instance, it started on a Sunday, so Monday through Saturday I marked out so that I wouldn't accidentally fill them in. I'm going in with my favorite washi tape again from the Washi Tape Store. I can't stop using this apparently. And we are just placing it down at the top, but I left a little bit of a gap this time. But I love this washi tape so much. It is so adorable, and it's kind of got cottagecore vibes, but I like also the colors in it. Then I'm going underneath that washi tape with another one. This is a washi tape by MushieWorks, and I'm placing that down underneath the first washi tape. I have a sticker here. I think I got this from Temu. It says the book was better. This is another old sticker. And then I go in with this sticker from Thumbelina Print on Etsy. I'm using my yellow Tombow to color in the word June, and then I go in with the pen side of the red marker, and I color in the stars and dots around it so that it keeps the color scheme pretty cohesive throughout. I love these stickers. Thumbelina Prints makes amazing stickers. A lot of monthly headers, reading journal things that works really well. I have this typewriter sticker from Grabie, my Grabie subscription box, and I'm just placing it down so that I can have some layering, and then I put down that June sticker. Thumbelina Prints also makes this sticker that says June book list, and I'm just using a couple of yellow markers to color in the sticker so that I have some yellow in that as well, because it's just completely blank. It's just black and white, so it gives me a good opportunity to color them in the color that I want. I then realized that having used a ruler for my calendar, it would look weird if I didn't use a ruler for my reading list. So then I go ahead and make it that and add a bunch of boxes underneath for my bullet point swatch area. And then the only thing left to make is a little box on top of the calendar. Again, I hate using a ruler. I hate it. I don't enjoy it at all. So I kind of just cut the footage here so that I don't have to keep watching me slowly, painfully use it. And then I have another one of these like row of book stickers from LA Florals. I really like these, and they work well for decorating a book journal. A big yellow pen sticker, and then this is another Karen Illustrators one. It's like a book with a terrarium on top of it. I think it's so cute. In fact, I have several Karen Illustrator stickers that I'm putting all around the borders of these spreads, just to add like a little bit of extra character. And then I go ahead and add just a few extra stickers. And then this sticker is actually a little one from Paper Ica Shop, as well as these little open book stickers that I'm just scattering around. Now I'm going back in with that same washi tape that I keep using, and I'm tearing it in half so that I can put it on the right page, on the right side of the page and the bottom, as kind of like a border or a frame for the page. Whenever I tear a washi tape in half, I always like to make sure that I use both sides of the torn tape because I just don't like to waste things. I'm putting down a couple stickers from Sticky down here to fill in this little gap, and then placing down that final half of the torn washi tape. And I top this with another Karen Illustrator sticker just to make sure it has a little extra character there. I'm using my Izabova stickers, the letter stickers, to put down the letter R and the letter W underneath this June header that I got from Tiny Cake Plans. Then I'm using my Writech Sign brush pen in the warm yellow shade from the vintage pack to write out Reading Wrapped. I'm going to be using this spread to just put my covers of all the books that I read this month. I'm going to put them in this space here, and then underneath that I will end up having my pie charts as well. So unfortunately I am pretty slow when it comes to lettering, but I really actually like these Writech pens for lettering. I think it looks really good, and the Tombow pens are hard to letter with because the nib is so large that you have to make very large letters. So this is what that ended up looking like, and now we are going to go over to the front of my journal. The front of my journal has been getting very full, and starting July I will be in a new reading journal, but until then I still need to have a place where I can put all the books that I read and new books on my TBR, because I have the curse that every reader has, and that I am constantly adding new books onto my to be read list. I am just making an exact copy of the bookcase that I'm already using to log all of the books that I've read. I'm using the same markers and everything for this because I really liked this bookcase. It's a little bit mid-century modern, and I thought it looked really cute. So I went ahead and just made another one, and then I will be taping it on like a tip-in. I also am going to fast forward a little bit through the part in which I draw all the books onto the bookcase, just because I didn't feel like that was all that entertaining to watch. It was just me drawing books. I did change the knickknacks up a little bit, but it is a very minor thing. So I'm going ahead and finishing this bookcase, and then you will see it in just 1 second with all the books on it. And I will just write the title and author of the book in the spine of the book that I put on the bookcase, and then that will work as my reading log for the entire year, or now that I'm adding a tip in, these both will work as the reading log. I'm supporting this page with another extra journal just because I wanted it to be lined up well, so that I can use a couple of small pieces of packing tape to anchor it down before I add larger pieces of packing tape. I put the small pieces on first on both sides of the spread, and then larger pieces of packing tape again on both sides of the spread, so that it's really adhered well and I don't have to worry about it falling off or something. Then, because it didn't look amazing with all the packing tape, I do go over top of it with a washi tape. I picked like a warm brown washi tape. It's got like a fawn deer kind of pattern to it, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And all of the spreads that I made for my setup and my reading journal this year, I wanted to be warm toned. So I wanted to make sure that that washi tape also worked with the warm tones. So this is about the point where I realized that I probably should have done this the other way around and put my books read list on the other side of the page, because now you open my journal to see the quote and an extension of my to be read list, and then you open up the tip in, and then you will see both of my books read list. It's not a big deal, but I had always intended you to open the book and see the books that I've read. So it just kind of, I realized then, I was like, oh, I should have done this the other way around. But there's that washi tape. And now we're going in with this book sticker by Thumbelina Prints. This is a beautiful sticker. And I'm just going to write the books that I'm adding to my TBR into the spines of the books on the sticker. I use my Tombow Dual Brush Pen to write the word sigh because I have a sticker that says adds to TBR, so I will be heading this section as sigh adds to TBR because I found that funny. I'm adding in a couple of extra stickers here from, this one's Therese Co., that one's from Sticky. And then I have one here that I'm adding from Artimation Co. on Etsy. I really love their store. They have a lot of good variety of stickers. I'm putting down a couple of extra ones from Karen Illustrator and one little one from Paper Ica Shop. And we are calling that one good. So that's what my spreads ended up looking like. Thank you so much to everyone who watched it and likes this video. You can check me out on Instagram. My name is Bullet Journaling by Marianne. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.